Understanding risk tolerance is one of the most personal and revealing steps in your financial journey. And yet, it is the one most beginners overlook because they believe investing is simply about choosing the right assets. But the truth is that your portfolio can only grow as far as your emotions allow it to. Risk tolerance is not a mathematical formula. It is a reflection of your psychology, your lived experience, and your inner response to uncertainty. When you begin exploring how much risk you can handle, you are not just making financial decisions, you are learning something essential about yourself, how you behave when the future refuses to behave for you. Most new investors imagine risk tolerance as a heroic concept, believing that being willing to take on more risk automatically leads to higher returns. They picture themselves as bold adventurers, confident that they can stomach volatility simply because they intend to. But intentions do not protect you when your portfolio suddenly drops 15% in a month. Your real risk tolerance is found not in your imagination, but in your heartbeat during market turbulence. It is discovered in the quiet moments when you open your account and see losses that feel uncomfortably real. And it is in those moments of truth, where investors either evolve or unravel. When I talk to beginners, I often explain risk tolerance using a simple metaphor. Imagine standing on a bridge overlooking a river. Some people can look straight down at the water and feel nothing but curiosity. Others feel uneasy but can tolerate it, and some feel their legs shake before they even reach the railing. Nothing about that reaction is rational. It is emotional. Risk tolerance works exactly the same way. Two people with identical incomes, identical goals, and identical portfolios can react completely differently to the same decline. One shrugs and continues investing. The other panics, sells everything, and vows never to return. The difference between them is not knowledge, it is temperament. And temperament is the compass that guides every long-term investor. To understand your own risk tolerance, you must first understand the three layers that shape it. The first layer is your financial capacity, how much loss you can endure without damaging your life. If losing 20% of your investment would jeopardize your rent, your business, or your family's security, then your financial capacity is low, regardless of your willingness to take risk. The second layer is your emotional capacity, how much volatility your mind can withstand before fear takes control. Even wealthy investors can have low emotional tolerance if they fear loss more than they value growth. And the third layer is your experience capacity, how much real-world exposure you've had to market cycles. Beginners tend to overestimate their courage until the first downturn teaches them that bravery without experience is just a guess. True risk tolerance grows with time, with scars, and with the quiet confidence earned by surviving storms. Another dimension of risk tolerance lies in your investment timeline. Time does not eliminate risk, but it spreads it out, softens it, and allows recovery to do its quiet work. Someone investing for retirement 30 years away can handle far more volatility than someone saving for a home purchase in 5 years. The market rewards patience, but it punishes urgency. If you need your money soon, risk becomes your enemy. If you have decades, risk becomes your ally. Understanding this relationship between time and volatility is one of the most important steps you will take as an investor, because it prevents you from choosing a portfolio that contradicts your real life. Then comes the emotional truth, how you respond to loss. Some people see a market dip as an opportunity, a temporary sale on assets they wanted anyway. Others experience real anxiety, a sinking feeling in their stomach, a sense that something is deeply wrong. Neither reaction is right or wrong, but each reaction carries a different investment destiny. If losses disturb your sleep, your portfolio will eventually force you into mistakes. But if you can separate temporary declines from permanent damage, you gain the power to hold steady while others flee. The market is not kind to the impulsive. It rewards those who act with clarity even when emotions whisper otherwise. To build a portfolio that fits your risk tolerance, you must blend honesty with strategy. Start by observing your natural reactions, not the reactions you wish you had, but the ones you truly feel. If market volatility makes you uncomfortable, there is no shame in choosing a more conservative allocation. A portfolio that you can stick with is always superior to a portfolio that collapses under emotional strain. In fact, the greatest danger for beginners is constructing an aggressive portfolio that looks powerful on paper but feels terrifying in real life. They spend their days checking the market, their nights worrying, and eventually they sell at the worst possible moment, not because the market forced them to, but because their portfolio demanded more risk than their heart could handle. The next step is recognizing that risk tolerance is not fixed. It evolves. As you grow older, as your income stabilizes, as your savings increase, as you survive your first downturns without panicking, your tolerance expands. You begin to understand that volatility is not a threat, but a companion, a natural part of the journey. You learn to distinguish noise from danger, discomfort from disaster, and with every cycle, you become a calmer, wiser version of yourself. This evolution allows you to adjust your portfolio more confidently, aligning your investments not with who you were when you started, but with who you have become. Another crucial insight is that your personality plays a larger role in risk tolerance than most people admit. Are you someone who seeks excitement or someone who values stability? Do you enjoy uncertainty or avoid it? Do you make decisions quickly or thoughtfully? These traits influence your investment behavior far more than you might expect. A risk-loving personality may thrive with a portfolio heavy in equities, while a cautious personality may prefer a blend of bonds and dividend-paying stocks. The goal is not to change your nature, but to build a portfolio that respects it. Still, even with all this understanding, there will come a moment in your journey when risk feels real, perhaps uncomfortably real. The market will dip, the news will turn dark, and you will feel the familiar pull of fear. This is the moment risk tolerance is tested, not measured. And it is in these moments when the seasoned investor's wisdom becomes clear. Your goal is not to eliminate risk, but to carry it wisely. Risk is the price of growth, and without accepting it, your portfolio can never expand into the future you dream of. What matters is carrying only the amount of risk that allows you to sleep well at night while still moving steadily towards your goals. Eventually, as you learn more about yourself and the markets, you will come to see that understanding risk tolerance is not just a financial exercise. It is a journey into your own psychology. It reveals your fears, your expectations, your habits, and your deepest relationship with uncertainty. And when you finally align your portfolio with a level of risk that matches your true nature, something profound happens. Investing becomes quieter, calmer, and far more sustainable because you're no longer fighting against your emotions, you're working with them. And that is the moment when you begin to realize that this entire exploration of risk tolerance was never about avoiding loss, but about learning. To learn to walk alongside uncertainty with a steadiness that does not depend on perfect predictions, but on your growing ability to remain grounded even when the future refuses to offer guarantees. Because at the heart of risk tolerance lies a subtle but powerful truth. You do not need to control the market. You only need to control your reactions to it. And once you begin to master this inner landscape, something remarkable happens. The fear that once felt overwhelming begins to soften, replaced not by arrogance, but by a quiet confidence that you can navigate whatever comes next. As we move deeper into this second half of the journey, let's explore how understanding your risk tolerance transforms not only the way you invest, but the way you make decisions in every corner of your financial life. You begin to recognize patterns, how you respond to opportunity, how you behave under pressure, how you interpret headlines that once would have shaken you. The investor who understands their risk tolerance sees volatility not as a threat, but as a natural part of the terrain. Just as a seasoned sailor expects waves, a seasoned investor expects fluctuations. The waves do not define the sailor, the response does. One of the greatest gifts of understanding your risk tolerance is clarity. When you know exactly how much risk feels right for you, decisions become simpler. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop comparing your strategy to others. You stop feeling the urge to chase every new investment fad that promises spectacular returns. Instead, you build with intention. You invest with restraint. You act with a sense of alignment that newcomers rarely possess. And in that alignment, your portfolio finally becomes what it was meant to be from the beginning. A tool for your peace of mind, not a source of anxiety. Another deeply important shift occurs as your risk tolerance matures. Your definition of success changes. Instead of chasing the highest returns, you begin to prioritize stability, longevity, and emotional comfort. You learn that the best portfolio is not the one that performs the best during booms, but the one you can hold on to during downturns without losing sleep. A portfolio that suits your temperament is far more powerful than a portfolio that suits someone else's bragging rights. You stop asking, how much could I make? And start asking, how much can I sustainably handle? That question alone saves more investors than any chart, strategy, or guru ever will. Of course, understanding risk tolerance is not just about emotions, it has strategic implications. Once you know the level of volatility you can handle, you can design your asset allocation accordingly. A conservative investor may prefer a portfolio anchored by bonds, dividend stocks, and broad index funds. A moderate investor may balance equities and fixed income in a steady rhythm. A more aggressive investor may allow for heavier equity exposure, understanding that the price of higher potential returns is deeper, more frequent fluctuations. Whatever your profile, your portfolio becomes a reflection of your true comfort zone, not a battlefield where you constantly fight yourself. But even with all this self-awareness, there will still be moments when fear tries to pull you away from your long-term plan. Maybe a sudden market downturn sparks panic. Maybe a geopolitical event triggers uncertainty. Maybe a friend brags about a high-risk investment that exploded overnight. In these moments, your risk tolerance becomes your anchor. You remind yourself of the process that led to your chosen allocation. You remind yourself that your portfolio was designed intentionally, not impulsively. You remind yourself that deviating from your plan out of emotion is far riskier than staying the course. This inner dialogue, repeated over time, becomes one of the most valuable skills you will ever cultivate as an investor. Eventually, you reach a stage where your risk tolerance feels less like a concept and more like a quiet wisdom that guides your instincts. You no longer fear market downturns. You accept them as part of the cycle. You no longer crave high-risk gambles. You understand the price they demand. You no longer let temporary turbulence shake your long-term vision. You realize that the markets do not require you to be fearless. They only require you to be faithful to your plan. And when this maturity settles in, your entire financial life becomes calmer, more stable, and more aligned with who you truly are. So as we bring this guide to its final arc, remember this. Understanding your risk tolerance is not about limiting your potential, but about protecting your growth. It ensures that your portfolio grows at a pace your heart can endure and your mind can maintain. It shields you from the destructive impulses that ruin so many promising investors. And it allows you to invest not from fear or greed, but from clarity and purpose. When you know your risk tolerance, you are no longer tossed around by every market wave. You stand rooted, steady, and quietly confident that you are walking your own path at your own pace. And if this exploration of risk has given you clarity, if it has helped you see yourself more honestly, or given you new strength to face the uncertainties of investing, I warmly invite you to share your reflections. Your thoughts help me understand which parts of these lessons resonate deeply with you. And if you wish to continue learning with me step by step, lesson by lesson, feel free to subscribe or follow so that each week we can continue sitting together, quietly unpacking the wisdom that no flashy headline or market frenzy can ever replace.